Welcome to the TCA's Year 7 lesson on William's problems and his solutions. You should have already completed a starter activity as part of the Microsoft Teams live lesson. Let's make a start on the lesson. Remember to pause the video to give yourself time to complete the tasks.
William of Normandy is now King of England. However, William now has a number of problems that he needs to deal with. He has written a letter to you explaining the problems he is facing. You need to identify what the problems are and write them down in your book. Once you have identified all the problems, rank them in order of importance. You will need to pause the video here so that you can read through the letter and write down the list of problems that William talks about. You have identified some of the problems that William was facing now that he was king. However, he had more than that to deal with. Here are some other solutions that William had to deal with during his time as king. There are some solutions as well. You need to match the problems with the correct solutions. You may want to pause the video here so you have time to match the problems with the solutions. Do you think you matched them correctly? Let's check it out together. I'm going to go through the correct problems to the correct solutions. Make sure that you correct your problems and solutions with red pen. Problem A, William had to capture the castle at Dover. There were lots of soldiers there. He solved this by going straight to Dover and killing all the soldiers he found in the castle. Problem B, he needed money. William solved this by creating a record of the wealth and made people pay taxes. Problem C, there were still some English soldiers in London and he had to get there quickly to defeat them. William solved this by marching to London, burning down houses and killing the English soldiers who stood up to him. Problem D, some people in the north support the Scandinavians. William solved this problem by sending soldiers to kill all the people who had rebelled against him. To punish them, he destroyed villages and farms in the north. And finally, our last problem, problem E, many of the English lords did not want William to be king. He could not trust these lords. William made the English lords promise to be loyal to him. If they did this, then William let them keep their land. Those are just some of the solutions that William came up with. The two most important things that William did are not listed in the activity we have just done. Does anybody know what William built all over the country? Castles. William built over 100 castles. Some of them were built extremely quickly. Castles were given to Norman lords so that they could control the local area, and the sight of them made it clear who was in control. The Normans used earth and wood to build their castles to speed up the building process, but this meant they didn't last very long. The other really important thing that William did was to create a fugal system. This is what we are going to look at in today's lesson. So what is a feudal system? Well, a feudal system is the social system. So what is a feudal system? Well, a feudal system is the social system which was used to help William control England. This is our key word definition for today's lesson. You might want to write that in your books. So what is a feudal system? Well, think about it this way. Could the head teacher control the school on his own? William had a similar problem when he became king. How could he, as one man, control everybody? To understand the feudal system better, let's give ourselves an example. Wherever we go, there's usually somebody in control. The school is a very good example of this. Let's create the school feudal system. At the top would be the head teacher, as they are in charge. They go at the top of our pyramid, as seen here. Next would be the deputy head teacher. They don't have as much power as the head teacher, but they are still very important in the school. Below the deputy head would be teachers. They have some power, but not as much as a deputy head teacher or a head teacher, yet they still are in control of their classrooms. And finally, at the bottom would be you, the students. You don't have as much power as the teachers, deputy head teacher or head teacher. Therefore, you are considered at the bottom of the feudal system. Before you can understand William's feudal system, we need to look at the different groups who lived in medieval society. First up, we have the barons. These were very rich people of a noble rank. The king gave land to them so that they could rule over certain areas of the country. They did this in return for swearing loyalty to the king. Then we have the peasants. They are somebody of low social status who did agricultural or farming work. They worked very hard for 6 days a week and very little pay. Also part of our medieval society were the knights. The knights were given land to rule over by the barons. In return, they had to serve in the king's army whenever the baron asked them to. And finally, we have the king. The king was in charge of the whole country. In order to help him rule the country, he gives people land who are loyal to him. Now that we understand the different social groups that existed in medieval England, have a go at answering these questions. Consider, who do you think is at the top of this feudal system? What does he have to give to people? What does he hope for in return? Who do the nobles give land to? What do they hope for in return? Who do the knights rent land to? And what do they hope for in return? Please answer these questions in your book. You may want to pause the video here to give yourself time to answer these questions. This is how the feudal system worked. The king was at the top and the peasants were at the bottom. The king was responsible for everything in England, and although he had this power, he delegates this responsibility. He gives land to the barons, who then gives land to the knights in return for protection. The knights were responsible for the peasants and allowed them on their land. The peasants worked the land for the barons in return for loyalty from the knights. The knights swore an oath to their baron and to fight for their king, whilst the barons swore an oath of allegiance to their king. So you can see here that we have at the top the king and below our different stages of power. They are all promised things such as land in return for loyalty. In your books, write a definition for the feudal system in your own words. I have given you a sentence starter below in red. You may want to pause the video here to give yourself time to write this sentence. To finish off our section on the feudal system, I'm going to read out some statements. I would like you to guess who is saying this statement. Is it the peasants, the barons, or the knights? Please write your answers in your book. Statement 1. I am not keen on the system because I only get a small piece of land. Who do you think was saying this? The peasants, the barons, or the knights? Statement number 2. I like this system because it means I can control the country. Who do you think is saying this? William of Normandy, i.e. the king, barons, or knights? Statement number 3. I do not like this system because I want to move out to the next village, but I'm not allowed to. Who do you think said this? Peasants, barons, or the knights? Look at this map of England. The coloured sections represent the land owned by the barons. What do you notice about the land that they own? Why do you think William did not allow them to own large bits of land next to one another? If you notice on the map, they are all quite spread out and not close to one another at all. This was because King William had a clear plan when it came to dividing England. Most of the given lands were scattered across large areas. This was done to stop any lord from becoming powerful enough to challenge his authority. I would like you to write a paragraph about the feudal system. Remember to include your point, your explanation, and some evidence. How did the feudal system help William control England? I have given you in red some sentence starters to help you with this. Sentence starter 1 describes what the feudal system is. Sentence starter 2 helps you explain what the feudal system was made up of. And sentence starter 3 helps you describe how the feudal system helped control England.